Hi everybody, Jennifer Blevins-Smith with Integral Clinic Solutions, and you're watching my YouTube channel, Navigating the Business of Medicine. Today I want to talk about payer contract effective dates. I have done an individual breakdown about credentialing versus contracting. I also did another video about individual versus group contracts with insurances, and now I want to specifically talk about the effective dates on those contracts with the insurances. A lot of people, even though I try to tell them in my personal, professional world outside of YouTube about how insurances are not good at retro covering dates of service before effective dates, I feel like people still don't listen or they don't understand what I mean. The thing about effective dates on contracts is they are usually so hard to change with the insurance companies. The insurance companies have their way of doing stuff, and they are not very open to changing that or being open to suggestions or requests of changing that effective date and making it sooner. Sometimes you could send in a reason why you want it to be effective sooner, but especially with commercial insurances, in my experience, they won't. They basically will give you the effective date of once they have finished processing a provider's contract in their system. Unless you have caught them in dropping the ball in something or in delay and you can show them and you fight it, they might be able to. But essentially the effective date they give you is going to be the date that they are ready to go in their system for you to send out claims and the claims to come through, and it notices that contract is effective and starts processing as so. Medicare and Medicaid are usually really good at retroing because they know that their process can be delayed a little bit just because of different requirements that they have and just how long it takes them internally to process things. So they are more open to being like, oh, you submitted this application on January 1st. We will go back to January 1st and have all the dates of service from January 1st on covered for you. But then you have other insurances that go, oh, you sent the application January 1st. Well, we don't really care about that. We didn't get done processing it until February 15th. So February 15th is your effective date. So if you saw any patients between January 1st and February 14th, those are going to process as out of network because you weren't effective yet. And that's the reality of the situation. Those effective dates are super important because it all determines how they're going to process the claims you're sending them. So if you have a provider start at your practice and start seeing patients while you're still waiting on those effective dates with every insurance, most likely, unless they're a Medicare or Medicaid patient, those are all going to be processed as out of network until you get that firm effective date from the insurance. And it usually comes in a letter or an email, electronic version, that says, we're happy to announce that effective February 15th, you are now part of the Blue Cross Blue Shield family, or however they put it. And then you know those dates of service from February 15th on will be adjudicated as par status or in network. But all of those before that, you have to make a determination of how you are going to handle those when they come back. Because either they're going to come back as utilizing the patient's out-of-network benefits, if they have them, and that means that it's probably going to be a lot of patient responsibility because out-of-network benefits is more money out of the patient's pocket usually. Or they'll deny completely because the patient doesn't have any out-of-network benefits. So how are you going to get that money? Did you communicate to those patients ahead of time that there is a chance that it might not get covered as in-network and that they might be responsible for it? Do you have something signed acknowledging you notified them? Because a lot of times if you look at your contracts, you can't bill patients for things that are denied or not covered if you didn't notify the patient before services are rendered. And of course, this time frame doesn't include the contract because you weren't under contract at that time, so you could go after that full amount to patients who's denied. But do you want to do that? Because you might upset patients if you didn't tell them ahead of time there's a possibility they might have to pay for it. Those effective dates are so important. So I always encourage everyone, if you're bringing on a new provider or you're a new startup, do not start seeing patients until you start having some of those effective dates and you know you're going to get claims processed as in network. Because let's be real, trying to chase down amounts of money from patients is getting harder and harder, especially in this climate where the economy is getting pretty expensive for people to just have their basic needs met, and them paying medical bills is not going to be a high priority for them. Either you figure out ahead of time, if you're seeing patients before effective dates, either having them pay as self-pay until you become contracted, or you have them sign something acknowledging they're willing to pay for what doesn't get covered by their insurance, or you don't start seeing patients until those effective dates. I mean, those are basically your three choices. And like I said, you can ask insurances to go back and try to retro and change that effective date, but I guarantee you most of them are not going to do that. So you definitely need to be prepared, and you definitely need to make sure you're tracking those effective dates. You understand what the effective date means, because it definitely makes you have to put in different workflows and expectations with yourself, your staff, and your cash flow, the revenue in your business. And you want to make sure that you're being realistic with expectations as well. You can't get upset if you're not getting money in when you know those effective dates are super important, and it definitely determines whether a patient is going to have their claim processed at the insurance as in-network or out-of-network. And yes, even if you're in-network and effective, it might go to all out-of-pocket from the patient because it goes towards their deductible, but it's going to be a lot lower amount compared to their out-of-network benefits most of the time. Usually deductibles are a lot higher, and they're two separate buckets. So in-network deductible is separate from the out-of-network deductible, so they don't get credit towards each other. So that's another downfall for patients. So just keep all of this in mind, and just know those effective dates are super important. And in my experience, insurances are not good at going back and retro covering anything before those effective dates, or changing those effective dates to sooner. If you have any experience with this, I would love to hear from you, so please leave that in the comments below. Smash the thumbs up button if today's video was helpful, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I hope you guys are doing well, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.